Diogenes Misunderstood. If you're unfamiliar, Diogenes was a cynic philosopher around the time of Aristotle and Plato. It was an Athenian trend in that era to have these bearded aesthetics wandering around like antiquated hippies. Diogenes was known for being a mad lad. He was a cynic, a philosopher who defied the status quo and any conventions that may hinder his freedom and ability to live as he wished. He'd defecate in the street. He'd crank one out in public. One time, some rich assholes were throwing bones at him like a dog, so he did as dogs do, lifted his leg and relieved himself on them. Another time, whilst doing the five-knuckle shuffle, someone asked him why he was doing that. His response, "If only it were so easy to rub my stomach," referring to hunger. Alexander the Great sought him out, and after asking the renowned philosopher if he wanted anything from the monarch, Diogenes replied, "Yes. Stand a little out of my sight." Alexander said, "If I were not Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes." Diogenes, the cynic, replied, "If I were not Diogenes, I would wish to be Diogenes." His story is full of quick wit and mad lad one-liners. Diogenes was homeless, living in a wine barrel.
Here, homeless, he lives in a box in an alley.
His philosophy, cynicism, comes from Greek kunikos, meaning dog, and that's how he lived. As free as any dog, begging on the street. He was once seen begging a statue for food. When asked why, his response was, "To practice disappointment." Audiences love these characters. Defiant, gives no fucks, witty, and not afraid to devote themselves entirely to their philosophy. Tyler Durden, Joker, Dr. House, these give no fucks characters we love but would probably avoid in real life. As far as I'm aware, Diogenes was the first. But what drives a person to wholeheartedly embrace the cynicism and chaos of such an existence? For Diogenes, exile. We're uncertain if it was him or his father, but they were exiled together for defacing the currency. His father worked as a banker. According to some sources, Diogenes went to the Oracle of Delphi. The famed Oracle of Apollo told him, "Deface the currency," which he took to mean show people the absurdity of the status quo. Tyler Durden is probably the best example of this in the modern era. Spoilers if you haven't seen a movie made in 1999. In Fight Club, Tyler is the alter personality of the narrator. He is brash, witty, defiant, and the ideal man.
Now a question of etiquette. As I pass, do I give you the ass or the crotch?
Not only does he have Brad Pitt's Achilles abs, he lives his philosophy, embodies it. He, like Diogenes, gives everything to his newfound enlightenment.
Yes, these are bruises from fighting. Yes, I'm comfortable with that. I am enlightened.
Due to the narrator's plight of feeling emasculated by corporate hierarchy and the drudgery of his lonely existence within the sterile confines of the capitalist rat race, his mind, subject to consumerist monotony, breaks.
Like so many others, I had become a slave to the IKEA nesting instinct.
Yes, I'd like to order the Erica Picari dust ruffles.
Please hold.
What people get wrong about Fight Club is that it is not simply about trying to express masculinity in a world where you have to be passive for your cornflower blue tie-clad overlords.
It must have been Tuesday. He was wearing his cornflower blue tie.
One reaction to the movie was to start fight clubs, young angry men gathering in groups to kick the shit out of each other. That's missing the point.
Mr. Gideon. Who? You're not paying attention.
The fighting wasn't about violence, it was about letting go, throwing off the shackles of polite society. The fighting was about catharsis, in a world where the wild wolf must be a tempered dog, and the caged boar has no tusks, in favor of a pompous hierarchy with arbitrary management titles that demand to be CC'd in every email. Because the reality that executives are useless is hidden when all 12 of them are copied in an email that needed one step. Chuck Palahniuk, the author of Fight Club, in the appendix of the book, even says it could have been Barn Raising Club. After Tyler and the narrator establish national fight clubs, it moves into Project Mayhem, going from catharsis, because of the system, to trying to dismantle it. Diogenes never got that far. Obviously, modern cinematic Tyler Durden is far more dramatic than historical Diogenes, but both have that unbridled zealotry, a zealotry at face value that gives badass Dringer energy. But below that veneer is a tragedy. Diogenes was homeless and a beggar. The Athenians found him to be a novel curiosity, his life a traumatic reaction to exile. While cynicism definitely had an impact, how impactful was Diogenes? Did he succeed in defacing the currency? Tyler Durden created a cult of personality, his legions of followers also jaded by the corporate machine. But what audiences and readers may not understand is that Fight Club wasn't a story about anarchist revolution. It was a gay man's exploration of masculinity within the commodified world we live in, not unlike The Matrix, a queer-coded movie about breaking free from societal bonds, written by two trans sisters. Fight Club was misunderstood by young, angry straight dudes as a hyper-violent expression of the male need for that violence. In reality, it was an existential questioning of what it means to be masculine in this capitalist hellscape.
Things you own end up owning you.
Everyone is a consumer, and everything must be a product.
You know what a duvet is?
Comforter.
It's a blanket. Just a blanket. Why do guys like you and I know what a duvet is? Is this essential to our survival? In the hunter-gatherer sense of the word, no. What are we then?
Consumers.
Right. We are consumers. We are byproducts of a lifestyle obsession.
In an age when you must turn everything into a brand, or it's irrelevant. How do you, as a consumer cog in this capitalist machine, express yourself when you're forced to conform to whatever whim your company wishes to impose upon you? How can you be masculine when you have to cower and be meek, putting on a fake smile for executive stooges of the ownership class? And to add to it, as a gay man, Chuck Palahniuk would also have to question the stereotypes pressed upon him by society. You don't have to be femme if you're gay, but that's often the depiction in media, so we expect it. Again, showing how the hyper-commodified brands around us manipulate our perspective of what our world should look like. Tyler Durden's defacing of the currency came from being fed up with being an irreverent cog.
Everything's a copy of a copy of a copy.
A copy of a copy of a copy. The point of Diogenes was to highlight the absurdity of the status quo. The point of Tyler Durden was to defy the absurdity of consumerism that makes men into drones. Whether you're a busboy, a disgraced bodybuilder, or an insurance investigator, we're all subject to the capitalist machine.
When deep space exploration ramps up, it'll be the corporations that name everything. The IBM Stellar Sphere, the Microsoft Galaxy, Planet Starbucks.
Many manosphere alpha bros like to say we're in a crisis of masculinity. Okay, then why are you suckling at the teat of the capitalist hegemony that imposes subservience on men? The solution to save masculinity isn't to bow down in supplication to the currency. It is to question, defy, and deface the currency. You don't need a whole-ass Project Mayhem to do this. You simply need to question the hierarchy. Question the authority of those in power on both corporate and government levels. They're the same rich assholes going to the same country clubs, holding up our crumbling gerontocracy. Soy isn't making you feminine. Having to put on a fake smile and pretending to like your boss is what's making you passive. Not questioning why you think femininity must be passive is what's taking away your agency. Femininity is not the opposite of masculinity. As I said in my Divine Gender video, they're two energies within us at different levels. Femininity is no more bad than masculinity, but we vilify the feminine, only to be told we must be masculine in the correct way by people trying to sell us holistic bullshit. Never trust anyone trying to sell you something. Question everything. Men like Tyler Durden and Diogenes had to give up everything to their philosophy. What good is a philosophy if it doesn't improve our lives? What good is knowledge if we cannot use it? In Nietzsche's On the Use and Abuse of History for Life, he points out the sterility of our modern era, the disconnection of mankind from the practicality of that knowledge. This inspired another gay man struggling with the pressures of the status quo, French philosopher Michel Foucault. Diogenes was cool, but died the same way he lived. He was 90 years old, but still lived in a barrel, alone as a curious oddity for those living their daily lives in Greece. Tyler Durden, in real life, would be labeled a terrorist by those he sought to defy, and, as many who seek that path find out, the message falls on deaf ears, only to be vilified by the opposition, used as propaganda against your cause. No, defacing the currency is a slow burn. It must be communal and compassionate. It doesn't look as flashy as a red leather coat stealing a car in the background. And it's not a lot of witty one-liners for other writers to quote. We misunderstand Diogenes, the once affluent son of a disgraced banker, and we emulate defiant characters like Tyler Durden. But what good is a philosophy that doesn't bring fulfillment, doesn't give you the few things in life that bring us happiness?
Self-improvement is masturbation. A self-destruction.
Not every philosopher needs to be a martyr. Not every cause requires us to live in extremity in order to be considered valid. Your personal worldview will require sacrifice, sure, and those in power love to silence and oppress dissonance. But philosophy is the love of wisdom. Wisdom is gained through experience, and through experience, you'll understand how best to deface the currency.
Skull!